Hello, my name is Victor Nalywaiko. How did I get involved? Let me see. Jonathan Nalywaiko, my son, started City Campers, and we came up with I think I'm the one that came up with the name because City Campers gives dignity to people on the street. When I approach them, I dub them City Camper, and they ask them, "What do you think of that title?" And they kind of like, "Oh," I said, "It sounds a lot better than homeless, or concrete dweller, or asphalt dweller, or bush person," and it's kind of a dignified name to be a city camper. So I got involved with Jonathan and started actually organize. But it started back when our kids were little. We used to go to San Francisco. So I don't know if I can tell that story. So we go to San Francisco with our kids, and we would make sandwiches. And one year we decided to do sandwiches and socks, and so we were in Union Square. There was a man in a wheelchair with bare feet, and Jonathan at that time was probably a teenager, a high schooler, went over there and put these socks on this man's feet. So I think that was like the beginning of showing our kids that people on the street are human, they have needs, and they're all there for a different reason. But the main thing you can do when you see people on the street is just acknowledge them. That's another thing is, you could open a conversation by walking up to them and saying, "You know what? You're not invisible to me. Can I get you a cup of coffee? Would you like some water?" I think that's the biggest thing is they have this immense emptiness of connection with people. So anyway, we had a man in our neighborhood. We grew up in Southern California, and this man, his name was John. I did talk to him one day and talk to him and ask him what his name was. And his name was John. He used to be a carpenter. He had the thickest, strongest looking hands, and he always walked. He walked everywhere, and he carried a piece of a garden hose, about a 4-foot section of garden hose. And the story they made up about him was that he siphoned gas with the gas hose. That's why he drank gas. That was a junior high school kind of a urban myth. When the real reason he carried the hose was to protect himself, because he would get attacked and harassed on the street by people. This was back in the 1960, between 65 and 70. So anyway, so I would always stop and talk to him. I got a little bit more history from him, but that was probably the first, he's a human. He wasn't homeless, but he was always on the street and walking everywhere. So that was probably my first contact with talking to somebody, taking an interest and trying to build a relationship. Was probably when I was back in, it had to have been the last year of junior high or first year of high school, because I gave him a ride home one day. He was walking on the street and it's dark, and I thought, man, someone's gonna pick on me. I know his story, so I gave him a ride home. So that was probably the very, very beginning. So the people that are on the street, they fall into categories, and this is pretty much consistent, is they have addictions, and you name an addiction, that's an addiction. There are people that were put there by circumstance, could be family, could be work, but there are circumstances. And the third one is, you know what, I love this lifestyle. I like being under the stars, I like being free, I like having a schedule. I just live not off the land, they live off the people. And they're the ones that know how to work the system. But the thing they all have in common, all three categories, is they all have community. Whether it's a community of the addicted people, hang out with addicted people, the people who lost their homes, or the people who choose to be on the street, they have a sense of community, which you see that really, really strong. Sometimes they have a better sense of community and responsibility and watching over each other than people that have a job and have a family and have a home, but their community is strong. Well, it's like the story. It's like the story. I love this story, where the little boy is walking down the beach with his grandpa, and all these. It's an old story. Everyone must have heard it at least once. There's starfish just falling onto the beach. Little boy picks up a starfish, tosses it back in the ocean. His grandpa looks at him and says, "That's not really gonna make a difference." Looks at his grandpa and says, "Made a difference to that starfish." So that's like the foundation of you can make a difference. And it doesn't take that much to do it. So and Jonathan's girls, they've gone out, and I'm sure, and my other son, Matthew, he's started to take out my granddaughter. She's 3 years old, and she's gone to San Francisco with us and watched us talk to people on the street and hand out sandwiches. So it's something that's going to be continuous. It's a good legacy.
All right. So you probably remember. So my first day at the outreach program that I worked at previously, you went out with me on my very first day.
And the last day.
And the very last day. And I thought that it was fitting for that period of time that you were there for the first day and the last day. But I think one of the things that I appreciate is being able to serve together, not only when we do San Francisco, or when you come up here, or when we went to Oakland, we served with the students, just being able to know that importance and what it meant to me, and being able to pass that on to Jaden and to Addison. I think you were right in the generational attitude of service that we're creating, that I feel like we should be able to pass on to anyone that comes out and helps us. Aside from what we're doing, just being able to serve together, I think is one of the things that I'm most excited about when you come up. Every time you come up, we try to go out, and whether it's in the Jeep, whether it's snowing, whether anything that we do. And I think last time in January, when you came up, remember we went downtown and it was snowing, or it had just snowed, and we didn't have any food to hand out. Do you remember what we did? Not putting you on the spot, but I am.
We went. No, I don't remember.
We went to McDonald's.
Oh, we bought. Oh, that's right. We ordered. What was it?
20 cheeseburgers.
20 cheeseburgers.
We ordered 20 cheeseburgers, and we were handing out cheeseburgers. And I just recently heard a story about that same camp where the police and the firemen wouldn't go into that camp because there was just too much going on. There was too much drug use and everything. And when I was hearing that story, I was like, man, that's where we went last time in January.
Oh yeah.
That's where we went. That was kind of probably one of the first City Campers outings that we did together. And I think it's just important to let people know that no matter what you're able to do, involve someone that you care about, whether it's your dad, your mom, your best friend, your daughter, your son. Just being able to serve together and sharing that, just the heart of Christ with people, but also with people that you're close to, is one of the most important things.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot to help somebody. So when you do have super hot days, what I did in our area was just go out and get a cooler and fill it with cold ice water and just go, and you can just find these people. You could find them. They're not hard to find. They're easy to spot. So I'm passing out cold water. Even just a bottle of cold water when the temperatures hit unbearable. Being on the street, people won't let them in their stores. They won't let them use their restrooms, and that adds to the misery of being hot. So the best thing you can do is do something.
Yeah.
And in acknowledging a person when they walk by them, giving them something to water to drink or a cup of coffee. It just acknowledges their existence, and it gives them, and listen to their story. Their stories are great. Whether they're made up or whether they're true, some have great storytelling abilities. Right. And they're all named Bob or John on the street. So you ask their name.
I think one of the biggest things to remember is that everyone that we meet, they're someone's daughter, they're someone's mom, They're someone's son, they're someone's dad. they all have that family and they all have a story that they want to share. So I think we'll continue on.
Yeah, my sister has. I'll tell the story. My sister has a stepson who's on the street, and in Southern California, and he will not admit he's an addict, and he's the guy who had a job at a dealership as a service writer, and they gave him a car. He had life going, and then he got got addicted to a drug, and then from that point on, his life just went downhill. And the sad thing is, if you have somebody on the street, especially a family member, whatever you do, don't do things that enable them. Constantly offer, this is what can be, if you need help, this is where you can get help. But making them comfortable being on the street as an addict is not a good idea. So it's hit pretty close to home when he's on the streets, and I think my perspective is he's gonna end up being one of the deceased people on the street because of his attitude and his inability to be coherent and make wise decisions. So remember that.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. You have questions?
Any questions?
Another thing is, the problem of homelessness, city campers, they will never ever be solved. It's been going on in Tacoma. It was 100. They've been serving people on the street. The businesses were started serving them on the street almost 100 years ago. Guess what? They're all still people on the street. So you can't. Don't solve the problem. Don't try to solve it. All you can do is help and be of service and do humanitarian aid, socks, stuff. They have give them if you make up a list of, hey, here's the people who can help you. You get clothes, shoes, and blankets here. But that's the best you can do is humanitarian aid.
Look at this. I have a starfish in my pocket.
Oh,
there you go.
Thank you. Here, let me throw it back in the ocean. I made a difference in that starfish.
There you go.
You're welcome.